We are so excited to announce the newest sponsor of the Success NP podcast. Picmonic is a quick and effective aid to help you pass your NP boards. They utilize 2-minute videos that connect difficult to remember facts with unforgettable characters. By tying facts together into ridiculously memorable stories, you'll be able to retain the information for test day. They help reinforce what you learn and track your progress with thousands of built-in rapid review multiple choice quizzes. The use of the intelligent space repetition algorithms automatically adjust to your learning needs, so you'll be reminded to review the right information at the right time, increasing long-term retention. Picmonic is also integrated into the True Learn question bank, so you can study exactly what you need and test your knowledge. Check them out today if you're preparing for board. Link in the show notes. Attention, all nurse practitioners and NP students. Are you tired of feeling the disconnect between clinical rotations and didactic teaching? Say hello to Success NP's clinical booklet guides.
As NPs ourselves, we know how valuable it is to have a resource that helps bridge the gap between clinical and class. So we created the digital resource to do just that. Our clinical booklets cover 5 major NP tracks: psych, adult, peds, family, and women's health. Success NPs wants to create tools and provide support NPs need to thrive in their careers.
So why wait? Check out our Success NP Etsy shop, linked in the show notes, for our digital guides and other digital clinical resources. Welcome, Success NP, to the podcast. This week, we are joined by Brianna Jaskowiak. She is an NP with W-2 experience in critical care, spending time as a registered nurse in the ER, traveling, palliative, home health. She has done it all, and she became a nurse practitioner 8 years ago. And she is an acute care nurse practitioner with experience in critical care. And then she began to create courses, lectures. She writes books that help sell to encourage NPs in their career. She does mentorship. And just to completely put the cherry on top, in 2024, she opened up her own clinic. It's been a long time dream of hers to work her own clinic, own her own business. And she's got 3 babies. She's active on YouTube, Instagram. She's so much fun to watch on there. We're just so happy to have you on, Brianna, and just to hear about everything that you are doing in your career. I don't know how you wear so many hats, but welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so honored to be a part of your show. One of my favorite things in the world to do is to talk about our profession because I just think it's the greatest profession ever. So I love to share my story and inspire others to hopefully find their own journey on this path.
I liked in one of your YouTube videos that I was watching, you were talking about the nurse practitioner career and how you get kind of brought down a little bit as far as like your options as a nurse practitioner from a nurse, but you spin it in a way that's really positive. And even though, yes, we narrow our scope by becoming NPs, I love that you're just like, there's still so many options, even though we're narrowed when we become NPs. Tell us a little bit about your journey to being an acute care nurse practitioner, kind of what inspired you to become a nurse practitioner, especially in acute care.
Well, I mean, I was a nurse in 2000. I graduated, and I always was drawn to like acute care roles. Like my first job was at Grady in the emergency room in Atlanta, which is level 1. It's crazy exciting. I love that buzz. And so I've always been kind of drawn to those type of roles. And I love the like medical mystery of finding a diagnosis. I've just always been fascinated by that. So this was around 2015. My kids were getting a little older, and I was like, okay, what do I want to do? Like I'm a job hopper. So at that point I was like, I think I want to go back to school and like follow this path towards sort of practicing medicine, but in a different way. And it has been the most rewarding thing that I have ever done career-wise. It has changed the trajectory of my life. So I've been doing that all in critical care. The entirety of my profession as an NP has been in the ICU, which I love. But then COVID hit and I was in a hot spot. You know, I don't need to rehash all the trauma of that. And you guys know it. I made this Facebook video kind of explaining to the community why the parking lots were empty, and it went viral. And then I started doing PR work for the hospital, and I kind of discovered that I liked being on film. So I created a YouTube channel, but I didn't want to be talking about COVID. So I like, what is it that people ask me stuff? And it's nurses asking, I can't even finish rounds. Where'd you go to school? Like, how'd you choose this? What do you make? How do you find a job? And so that was just the natural topic that I segued into, and it worked out. I created a lot of content on that. And then I kind of segued into talking about interview skills because that was one of the most requested type of services. And I did that for about 3 years. I did mostly content creation, marketing through that, consulting, wrote some books and did some things there and found that to be very rewarding. I still enjoy that. But I realized kind of about a year and a half into it, it was not going to be a money maker. It was not, it was more of a hobby. It was not going to replace my full-time job. And then I had to really get deep with what do I want from this? I didn't even start this wanting to be a business entrepreneur or make money. I just started it because I enjoyed it. But with content creation, it can take over your entire life. You start seeing your world through the lens of content, and that leads to high burnout. Like, I don't know how you keep doing what you're doing. I mean, I kind of threw in the towel about a year ago on TikTok. I haven't made a YouTube and also in about a year because it just, if you're not the kind of person who can set boundaries well between your personal life and your professional, it can take over your life.
100%
And
agree.
so
Yeah.
I let it do that. And that's when I segued towards, let me do something that's profitable. And that led me to opening the clinic.
Yeah. And what does your clinic and your leap into entrepreneurship look like? So what are you treating? What does your clinic schedule look like?
So hormones and weight loss. I'm acute care certified. I am not family. So I cannot be considered a medical home for patients. So I don't treat hypertension and diabetes. I send them to a PCP for that. But I narrow my focus and I just do the specialty work, which is enough in and of itself because hormones are incredibly complex, particularly women. But it is such rewarding work. And I think that when you're honoring your calling doesn't mean that you have to choose one thing and do it for the rest of your life. It means honoring the space that you're in that moment and how you can give back to the world and how you can create impact. And for me personally, I was going through perimenopause and my husband was going through his own version of that, andropause. And through the painful course of realizing that nobody wants to treat this in mainstream medicine for a lot of different reasons, which I will save the rant on that for another day.
Yeah.
We eventually found our way to a private clinic similar to what I'm doing, and it changed his life. And so I saw the power in this. This is not just like voodoo wellness medicine. This is legitimate science that truly has the ability to change every aspect of your day, your life, your physicality, your emotionality, everything. So I find it very, very rewarding work. And it gives me that one-on-one patient interaction that I wasn't getting as much when I was spending all my time doing YouTube. So I like to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And this allows me to do that. So my day to day, I mean, I'm pretty busy. So I still work full time in the hospital. I'm hoping in the next year that will segue back to just part time or PRN even.
Nice.
But I'm still doing that. And I will always still work in the hospital. I'm an ICU girl. I love life and death. I love that buzz. I'm not ever going to want to give that up. And I think
Yeah.
that's okay. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people who go into business are frustrated with their careers and this is my escape plan. I don't necessarily see it that way. I see it as an addition to my practice and a different way in which I can use sort of a different focus. It's a different skill set to help people in a different way. And I love that. So I work my W-2. I go to the ICU 3 times a week. I go to clinic most every other day, although not physically. Some days I'm just doing clinic work from home, just catching up on charting, putting in orders, that kind of thing. And it's not full-time hours either. You know, I probably spend about 20 hours a week on my clinic as it is right now because I am single owner, single worker. I am it. I am the entire business from the front end to the back end until it grows to a point that I can staff, which I will get to eventually. I'm just not there yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a slow process, but I'm telling
Yes.
you, since the day I've opened it, first of all, I didn't use any of our personal finances. I didn't take out a loan. I used everything from my consulting business to fund the clinic. And when I started out thinking, well, okay, I'm not going to start out big. I've got a 250 square foot clinic. That's all I need. I don't have a waiting room. I have the ability to see one patient at a time. That's all I need too.
Yeah.
And so I have low overhead and willing to let it just grow slowly and over time, mostly
Yes.
word of mouth. I'm not even doing a lot of marketing. I'm just letting it grow in God's time because I know that it will. And I
Mhm.
also have to recognize, and this is what I've learned at 48 years old, you have to compartmentalize. You cannot do all the things you want to do in life. So where do you choose to spend your time? I'm okay with letting this thing grow slowly and allow me to still have time to work my W-2, be with my family, and do things like this because I still love this as well. It's all about balance.
Yeah, exactly. I love how people talk about work-life balance and women, you can have it all and you can do it all and you can't. You've got to just decide, like, I can choose this and I can choose that. And these are the most important things. And these are the things that float to the top of the priority list. Everything else just falls in behind that. And it just sounds like your W-2 job right now is the priority and that you're working on this other thing in the background and you'll just wait and see as it grows, what it grows into and make adjustments in your work-life balance at the other job as it
Exactly.
grows. And it will always be there. That's the thing that I talk about in all these podcasts with all these nurse practitioner entrepreneurs is just, it will always take you back. Your ICU job in the hospital it's always there. So taking this time to diversify your income through the courses and the digital products that you create, then also having this little side hustle thing that you've got working with your own personal business, and then having your full-time job. Again, I don't know how you're doing it all, but it is one of those things where you are just choosing and picking throughout the day of, okay, we're going to work on this today. We're going to focus our attention on these different things. And then when you have your W-2 job, not on autopilot, but you kind of do, right? Like, you know what you're doing there. It's very kind of comfortable. There's not a whole lot of new things. It's easier to expand your brain, that neuroplasticity towards learning something new.
Yes.
It's not that much of a challenge every single day that something's new. You know what I'm saying? Because that can get really exhausting, doing new stuff every single time, and that learning curve that it takes you to become proficient in something. So I love how you've structured this for sure. So what are some of the challenges that you've noticed from working a W-2 job to now kind of owning your own business? What are you seeing are some of the things that you're having to grow yourself in between these two kind of sectors of your world?
When you go to work for someone else, it's sort of like, just piggybacking on the last thing that you said, is that you go to work when you become proficient, and it does take you a couple of years as an NP, which is why I think it's a little bit interesting when people become a new grad NP and go straight into business, because like, you have all of that, right? You're dealing with the clinical aspect of it as well as the business. That's a lot. But yes, your brain is a little bit on autopilot. You're getting a paycheck, you're getting PTO, you're getting your benefits, everything. When you go into business, you forfeiting all of that. The protection is gone, which you can choose based on your mindset to see as incredibly freeing or incredibly risky and scary. And this is why I think one of the other questions you probably will ask me later is about, gosh, poof, just gone. I'm gonna have to do that one over again. Okay, sorry. That's how it goes. That's how it goes.
Same, girl, mom brain. You're totally fine.
I was going somewhere with it, and it was really good too.
One question you were going to potentially ask me, and this is in regards to breaking and transitioning into the two sectors of your life.
I think where I was heading with this was, okay, the biggest challenge in breaking off into business. Okay. When you have the protection from your W-2, from your employer, for your benefits, your PTO, it's a sure thing. It's guaranteed. You're set. When you open your own practice or your own business of any sort, you forfeit that. You forfeit that protection. And you can choose to view this as too risky, too scary, not enough stability for my financial and family needs, and therefore I'm not going to do it. Versus you can see this as, this offers me the opportunity for freedom that I would never have otherwise. And this goes back to the question of, should you open a business and should you be an entrepreneur or not? And should everyone do that? No, everyone should not do that, because it depends on who you are as a person. If it's going to create the amount of stress in your life that risk brings in, it's not worth it. It can affect your marriage, your family, your everything. So you really have to get to the root of that before you take this kind of a venture.
Yeah. And it's different seasons too, right? So like if you're maybe a parent with like little young kids and, that might not be the season for that. I feel like women in particular, we're seasonal, even within the month. You're talking about hormones, right? Like women's hormones are highs and lows and ebbs and flows, and they're all the different nuances. And I think sometimes too, it may not be the right season for that, right? And so,
Really.
it might be a good season just to kind of work at this job for a period of time.
We are so excited to announce the newest sponsor of the Success NP podcast. Picmonic is a quick and effective aid to help you pass your NP boards. They utilize 2-minute videos that connect difficult to remember facts with unforgettable characters. By tying facts together into ridiculously memorable stories, you'll be able to retain the information for test day. They help reinforce what you learn and track your progress with thousands of built-in rapid review multiple choice quizzes. The use of the intelligent space repetition algorithms automatically adjust to your learning needs, so you'll be reminded to review the right information at the right time, increasing long-term retention. Picmonic is also integrated into the True Learn question bank, so you can study exactly what you need and test your knowledge. Check them out today if you're preparing for board. Link in the show notes.
But what I do find, I do want to challenge and push back on, is always be looking for holes and looking for gaps you can fill, even when you are in other jobs. Because I think just like there's risk with doing the entrepreneurial role, I think that there's also a lot of risk with just putting your eggs in one basket and
Sure.
just depending on your W-2, right? And so finding little things that you could do, even if it's not in nursing. I mean, I've met so many nurses that have gone into other fields like real estate, creating products like nursing products. They're very creative. So they doodle or they do little things like always be looking for something that you can fill, even if you have a solid W-2, because I've been fired from my W-2. It like out of the blue, like, hey, come into my office. We're so sorry. We just don't have funding for you next year. Your job is ending in 3 months. And it's like, whoa, like
Yeah.
I luckily had no children, was not married, like nobody was depending on me when this happened. But like I can't imagine if I had a family and these were things that I was dealing with. And so now with the other things that I've curated and adopted through just that grind effort of realizing no one's coming to save me, no one's coming to rescue me. I need to be able to set up something for myself. Either if you needed to get back on and start YouTubing, you could. If you needed to get back on TikTok, you could. If you needed to go, these are very viable ways to make money. I have made them and I am not special. I have made money for my Instagram. I've made money through different things. And I'm like, if I would have never tried this, it would have never been an option. And so I agree. Entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but you also have to be a nurse specific entrepreneur. There's so many things that
Yeah.
you could do and you can get your foot in. And so invest your money wisely so that you can go part-time if you're getting burned out. Invest your money wisely. Look into real estate. Invest your money wisely. Figure out what you like and what you enjoy as a hobby. And maybe you could actually start to make money around that,
Yeah.
even if it's not involving nursing, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point. And it also kind of goes back to like, are you replacing your job with something else or are you adding to it and how much time is that going to take? But yes, diversifying your funds, even just what you're getting from your W-2, like you talked about, you've got a little bit in, an S&P, you've got a little bit in a crypto, you got a little bit in gold. Like it's never good to put your eggs all in one basket. What happens if the FDIC goes under? Like, I mean, where are you putting your funds, your time, your energy? And I think it's very, very good to move things around in different places for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And I love that's what you've done with your career. I mean, you are doing that right now in so many ways. And so many nurse practitioners need to take notes because again, you wouldn't put all your investment funds in Apple. You wouldn't be like, Apple's it. That's the only thing I'm investing my money in. That's it. Like, no, you're like, I'm invested in Amazon 2 days a week. I'm invested in Apple 3 days a week. And then on the side, I'm invested in, I don't know, Figs. Shout out to Figs. Anytime you want to support us and give us some scrubs, that'd be great.
Yeah.
No, but just, one of those things where it's like, I'm investing in all these different companies because it's important that it's just not a singular focused thing, that I've got multiple things running. So I'm not just dependent on one source for your income. And like I said, Brianna, you're doing an excellent job. And I know that's hard, but I mean, again, I just keep going back to it's a journey. You don't do it all in one day. It's the consistency over time. And then you could grow your intensity. That's what you just said. You're like, Sandra, I'm consistent. I do this 3 days a week. I do this 2 days a week. And then over time, you're going to figure out where your intensity is going to go, right?
Yeah.
And your intensity is going to go towards your business as that begins to grow and take up more time and energy. And then you will let your W-2 job be less intense. And so consistency and intensity are the two things that play hand in hand as you're growing this.
And I think
So
it also helps
go
with
ahead.
burnout, right? You get burned out at your W-2 because you're like, I'm frustrated by little things. I'm cranky with my coworkers. Okay, we'll cut back on that some and spend more time in something else that's filling you up in a different way. I'm definitely a believer and you can do all the things that you want to do. You just know your limitations physically, emotionally for yourself personally, because you cannot. I think most of us in healthcare we are benevolent people. We are empaths. We desire to help other people, oftentimes to the extent of our own health. And so we have to know our limitations, but use all the resources available to you to build a beautiful, happy life for yourself and impact others. And sometimes that does look like a lot of pivots along the way, and that's okay. Nobody defines this. You define your life and your career.
Yeah, I agree. I talk a lot about dials, having different dials and
Yeah.
turning up, turning down, turning up, turning down. And so all the different things, I think sometimes we just get so focused in on turning up the one W-2 dial and that one job. And another thing that you describe is the ability to control certain things, right? Like you go to your W-2 job and you have really no control, right? You just go do what you need to do, take care of your patients. And that control of the day-to-day, the operations, that's somebody else's job, right? And so there's a freedom in that, but there's also a constriction in that. There's freedom and constriction because you can't really change certain aspects of your job. You can't change your manager, you can't change your boss. But when you go to your entrepreneurial job, if you're upset with your manager, it's you. You're upset with yourself.
Right.
So that growth that you've got to be a different person, you've got to metamorphosis into somebody different so that this thing is successful is such a good growing experience, but it's also such a good change from being in that other spot of I'm really restricted here. I really can't do everything I want to do because it's just, this is not the nature of this job.
Yeah.
So I think it helps with burnout because it's like, that's part of what is exhausting from burnout is just like, you feel stuck, right? And then that other job, you have such freedom that you're like, okay, so if we're stuck, it's because I'm stuck. And so that's the part you've got to work on that I think is a really fun challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I heard you say that. What were some of your first steps that you took to get your entrepreneurial business off the ground? And you said I didn't even get funding from like a loan. And I've had nurse practitioners on here say they've gotten funding. They took out a second mortgage on their house. I mean, they are just risking it all. So how did you get started with, starting your business and what were some of the first steps you took?
Well, like it happened in waves, right? I started the YouTube not intending to have a business, and then it segued into a bit. I just followed the pivots wherever they came to me. I mean, I'm a believer in fate, and things will be the way they're supposed to be, and so you follow the opportunities as they come to you. So when I launched my clinic, I mean, I had the idea to launch the clinic about 2 years before I did, and so the first steps I would say were, okay, let me hone in on practically, how do I do this? Okay. And I think I need this much money. So I started really doubling down on my consulting business and my YouTube to try and earn the funds to do that because my partner and I decided that we were not going to use our personal finances to do this, which I think was the right decision for us. For others, it may not be. I tend to be like when I went to NP school, I went to the accelerated program because I was like, I'd rather have 18 months of hell than 3 years of slow burn. It's bad either way. Let's just get it over with.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit different when it comes to business because there is more risk involved with it. I'm okay with going slow and letting it build over time and as it comes, because that allows me to create, to keep things in those boundaries, those buckets, so I don't burn out. So it was slow, painful process, to be honest. It started with the funding. And then once I kind of was building the funding, I was doing a lot of education. Oh my gosh, I believe in the power of finding mentors, paying them for their courses and their time, because learn from the failures and the successes of other people and literally just copy everything they're doing. They've already done it. They've already built a successful practice. You're trying to reinvent the wheel.
So what course did you take?
I took a lot of the Elite NP courses. Anybody who's interested in entrepreneurial, you are going to know this man, Justin Allen, has changed the face of modern medicine in regards to NPs and practice owners.
He was on the podcast last week.
Yeah, he's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And that's when I first realized, okay, here's somebody who's being transparent about his process, which nobody had done to that point, and had the vulnerability to share all of this with us. And now there's so many others who are sharing this too, So I took a lot from him. I took a lot of courses. Hormones are very, very complicated. I took a lot of courses to develop my education over time. I wanted to be able to provide the best practice, the safest practice possible, because I think when you lead with value, with safety, with expertise, people see that and they share it amongst the communities. That was priority number one for me. I did that slowly over time. And then things just fell into place.
Yeah. Yeah. Consistency and intensity are the two things I just keep coming back to. It's going to take time. You have to be consistent, but that's growing a resiliency in you, right? And that's what you're saying. Like I'm just going to keep going. It's arduous. It's hard, but you have to keep going. And it's through the consistency and the struggle that it builds you up as a person and you appreciate the journey and where you get to at the end. A lot of people see the end and they just think, oh, Sandra has this podcast and she's making money from this and that. And it's like, no, man, this is me giving up Saturdays where I could be doing other things. I could be sitting on the couch doing nothing. And it means that I am changing who I am to be this person. And so it's the same journey for you as you are pursuing that. I think nurse practitioners need to see more NPs that are like, girl, it's a grind. That's exactly what this is. I'm in it for the long game. I'm not in it to, to be done, or I'm not in it just to get to some spot. Like I'm in it for it to change who I am. And it's an incredible, I think, experience and journey. And it's one of the things that you look back on your life on and you think like, wow, I can't believe I did that. Like, I can't believe that I just took that risk, or I took that time, or I invested that, and that's what this has grown into. I think that's really neat. How do you regulate your nervous system after a day like that? Or do you find that your job, your entrepreneurial space allows you that kind of different rhythm that allows your nervous system to calm down? I feel like it would just be incredibly exhausting to do that job.
I think it comes down to understanding yourself and what your personal triggers are. Mine is the decision fatigue. So recognizing that if I've done it all day long and I come home and I have to make another decision, it's going to be a problem. So you got to get to the root of like what you're capable of handling and what it is that's going to send you over the edge. And again, like establishing those boundaries and the ability to self-regulate, performing the self-care that you need in order to handle those problems. I'm very introverted. So I handle the decision fatigue by I'm not making any more decisions for a half hour when I get home. I'm taking a shower. And I'm washing off all the trauma, emotional and physical. And then I can make a decision for you.
Yeah, that's really good. That representation of like getting into the shower and literally washing off the day is something that I've heard a lot of nurses say. One, because you feel like you're covered in germs. So let's just go there. But then two, it's just that moment. Like I feel the same when I come home from work. Like I tell my husband, like, it's important for me to go like take care of myself, even for just 30 minutes of just a hot shower, just being like, get up, get up, get up, wake up, get into this other role that you've got to get into as like mom, because you've been gone for the day. And so you've got to step back into that second role of caregiving. And again, like you said, this is why this job can be really exhausting for especially women in this caregiving role that we're in, where we're just giving and giving and giving.
Yeah.
You feel like you don't really have a way to fill yourself up. It's really easy to get empty. I want to hear kind of about your future goals for your business and kind of your career, any projects you have on the horizon for where you are going, or are you just going to keep the pots burning that you've got right now and just keep going with what you're doing?
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's the season I'm in right now of letting things grow naturally the way it is. I do intend to kind of double down on the clinic here soon, probably summer. I'm going to put more of my energy and focus into that and growing that and looking at staffing it. I've got to do some numbers, but that's kind of my focus. But I also am still open to whatever the universe brings my way. I mean, this opportunity for the podcast came across my desk. I was like, absolutely, I'd love to do that. That's a side of me I haven't expressed in a creative way in a while. And I welcome the opportunity because I love to talk about this stuff and inspire others. So it's whatever comes my way. I am not looking to build anything else right now. I'm trying to focus on what I got and just make it all keep going forward and creating that perfect balance of life and enjoying life and making impact on the world.
Yeah. What would you give to another nurse practitioner that's maybe she's an acute care NP and she's like, how do I get started? What do you think I should do? What advice would you give her that you feel like this is a solid piece to take to the bank?
I think it comes back to being open to pivoting in your career in all the different ways that you could see it going forward and what opportunities come your way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's great advice, because I think you get really focused in on something as an NP and you kind of like hunker down and you don't see much else. Like you get blinders on, like the horse that has the blinders and they're just focused in on this. And so I love that advice to just over time, just really keep remembering and reminding yourself that I need to be looking around. I need to be figuring out what gaps need to be filled at this job that nobody's filling that I could go fill with my skills. Or what is it that I enjoy doing outside of this place that I need to go do? Because if I don't, I'm just going to get super burned out from all this. Be open and be aware of the fact that there are options all around you, and don't get so focused on I'm just going to do this. Get proficient, spend your time, but then start to kind of see what else is available. I think that's really good advice. Thank you so much, Brianna, for coming onto the podcast today and sharing your journey with my listeners. Where could they find you? Where could they check you out? Get your mentorship things? I know you are super into like helping people prepare for interviews and getting into acute care jobs. So how is it like, where can they find you? Where can they reach out to you?
Thank you so much for having me.
Gotcha.
All that you do for the NP profession, it just means the world to everybody out there. So I speak on behalf of them. You can find me at breenp.com. That's BREENP.com. All of my offerings and my socials you can launch from there.
So for the Success NP quote of the day, try to become a man of success. Try not to become a man of success, but rather to become a man of value. Albert Einstein. That just goes back to what we were talking about, looking for gaps, looking for things that you can do, that you can add value to those around you is pivotal in your career. And we have a rapid fire portion. It's super quick. 3 seconds, 3 questions. Are you ready, Bree?
Yes, let's do it.
Bree's nothing. I want to give you rapid fire. What is one book you would give to somebody that you're like, this is the book? What book would you give?
Not from a job interview. Do not go to a job interview unless you have read this cover to cover. This is your secret path to winning that job. Changed my life.
Okay, perfect. Second question. What was your very first job ever, Bree? You do everything. You are a serial job hopper, but this was my very first job. You never forget your first. What was it?
I was an ER trauma nurse at Grady at a level 1. I was 22 years old, and the world just opened up for me in so many ways.
That's cool. That's a great first job.
That was fun.
And then third question, if you had to pick someone to play you on TV, who would she be?
Right now, I'm super obsessed with Mel Robbins. So I feel like even though she's not an actress, she should be me.
Oh, I see it. You actually kind of like, she's like an older version of you. Like I see it. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, again, Bree, thank you for coming on the podcast. Guys, we'll have all her information in the show notes. Just check her out, reach out to her, get into her mentorship if you need it. Check out her business if you're interested. It's so good to meet you. So much fun. Thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Success NP. We hope today's discussion has shed some light on the diverse career options or taught you how to improve your clinical practice as a nurse practitioner.
Remember, whether you're considering a specialization, pursuing advanced certifications, or exploring non-traditional roles, there's a wealth of opportunities out there waiting for you. Be sure to subscribe to the show so you don't miss an episode and leave us a 5-star review. It helps the podcast grow. The Success and Peace podcast is on the World Wide Web, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and X. So subscribe to our newsletter for updates on new podcast episodes and other information to help you on your own NP journey. You can always message us at successnpeacepodcast@gmail.com with any NP podcast episodes or topics you'd like us to discuss.
Until next time, take care. Stay curious and keep advancing your careers as a nurse practitioner. And just a friendly reminder, the information on this podcast is for educational purposes only. The information should not be used in substitute for professional care by a medical provider. The information on this podcast does not represent medical or professional advice or services.
Bye for now.